Today's recap is going to be a big one. We have multiple trades to talk about, including Randy Arozarena. It's official. He's on the move, and the Diamondbacks, they just traded one of their better prospects for a relief pitcher. Staying with relief pitchers, Mason Miller was probably going to get moved in the next few days, but yeah, he's going to be missing some time. He's on the shelf now because he punched a table. Garrett Crochet is no stranger to trade talks, but he just might have cost himself a trade because allegedly he is demanding that if he does get traded, whoever gets him has to give him an extension or he won't pitch in the playoffs. Another trade just broke as I'm recording this intro. Austin Hayes of the Orioles, he joins Randy Arozarena as another AL East outfielder on the move, and Clayton Kershaw, I didn't know that he's back. One day after Robbie Ray made his long-awaited return against the Dodgers, Kershaw makes his return against the Giants. So we have a lot to talk about in today's recap, but before we talk about the highlights, I'm going to e-beg for just a second. I'm going to promote my podcast. It's called Stitched Up. I do it with your friend Kyle. We just passed 5,000 subscribers. We're going to have a banger later today talking about Mason Miller, Crochet, so many things to talk about, so head on over to Stitched Up. The link is in the description, the pinned comment. It would really mean a lot if you guys come check it out. Thank you so much. So you guys might have noticed I forgot to mention something in the intro, and it's a freaking no-hitter. We have to show off Dylan Cease and his first career no-no, and I emphasize the first because a few years ago when he was with the White Sox, he was 1 out away. We'll talk about that after the highlights. Anyway, Patrick Corbin, he was not happy with the umpires because he was forced to pitch in the rain. He loaded the bases up. He wanted to stay out there and just get the final out, but they wouldn't do it. And 75 minutes later, the play finally resumed, and Corbin, he's back out there. Kim, he ripped a base-clearing 3-run triple, and those were the only runs scored for either team because Corbin, he went 6 scoreless after that, and the only problem is his opponent threw a dang no-hitter. I mean, it almost got broken up in the 5th. Juan Yepes, he wanted a 16-game hit streak, but luckily Jackson Merrill, he was there to catch the deflection. Dylan Cease was just mythically good. He mowed down national after national, 7 no-hit innings, and his manager almost took him out. Like, for whatever reason, MLB managers have just agreed upon an arbitrary number, like 100 pitches is way too much. So 94 pitches after 7, he was about to take him out, and Dylan straight up said, I'm not coming out. I'm going out there for the 8th. He's back out for the 8th, and Xander almost botched it again. Luckily, Kyber Ruiz has negative speed, but Dylan does have 8 no-hit frames. Vargas, that's a ground out. Jacob Young, a ground out. And the former Padre, this would have been poetic justice. CJ Abrams, he lines out. That is a no-no. So 2 years after Luis Ariz ruins Dylan Cease's no-hitter with 1 out, he hands Dylan the game ball. Just absolutely a surreal moment. And by the way, over his last 3 starts, Dylan has only allowed 2 hits in 22 innings with 30 strikeouts. Him, Michael King, and Randy Vasquez have been very, very good lately. Randy Arozarena's final game as a Ray. It's still crazy to say that out loud. We'll deep dive into the trade after the highlights versus Chris Bassett and the Blue Jays. Brandon Lau went to the 500 level seats. That ball had a jetpack attached to it. That started a big 3 RBI day for Brandon Lau, which was actually beat by Isaac Paredes, who had 4 RBIs. Isaac, he doubled in Palacios, and Brandon, he did the same for Isaac, back-to-back RBI extra base hits. Alex Jackson has been one of the worst hitters ever, and he's having a nice week. He had a 3-run home run in the Bronx, 2 more RBIs on this swing. Isaac, the runs will not stop scoring. He drives in 2 after Jackson drove in 2. Jackson also had a 3 RBI day as well. Go figure. Same with Brandon Lau. He grabbed his 3rd RBI in the 7th inning, and it's a 10 spot now. Look who made it, 11 runs. Randy's final RBI as a Ray is a sacrifice fly. In scores Palacios, again, who got on base a ton. Josh Lowe, he joined the multi-RBI club with an RBI single and ground out as 3 separate Rays had multiple RBIs. And we haven't even talked about, 4. That makes 4. We haven't even talked about Taj Bradley, who struck out 7 Blue Jays over 6 scoreless. He allowed just 2 base hits on 83 pitches. Taj has a 0.82 ERA since June 8th. That's 5 runs allowed over 9 starts. Tampa said, okay, we won by 13. Randy only had 1 RBI. He's been hot. Let's ship him while the market is high. So Randy Arozarena has officially been traded to the Seattle Mariners in exchange for 2 prospects by the name of Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins. I'm going to have my editor show some highlights for Aiden Smith, who actually looks like he could be good in the future. Brody Hopkins is a right-handed pitcher, and he's got some nasty stuff, but Aiden Smith is kind of the centerpiece trade. He's quick on the bases. He's got some thump in that bat. He is a younger prospect, so he's going to be a project in the making. Randy Arozarena, on the other hand, you have to ignore his season batting average. Everyone's saying, oh, Randy fell off. He's washed. He's hitting .213 on the season. forgetting the fact that he's sitting basically 300 over the last month with 7 home runs, 9 stolen bases, an OPS over 950 or something like that. Randy has been him for the last 6-7 weeks, so the Mariners, they're getting a shot in the arm, especially considering J-Rod, he's down with an injury. Randy is going to the Mariners in exchange for 2 prospects, Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins. What do you give this grade in terms of a trade? One more trade to talk about, AJ Puk. It is not AJ Puk or anything like that. AJ Puk is on the move to the Diamondbacks in exchange for Aaron Judge. Davision De Los Santos. So he's had a crazy year. He was picked up by the Guardians in the Rule 5 draft. The Guardians did not put him on the 40-man, so he was sent back to the Diamondbacks. He's had a mythical season with look at these stats. So he's going to the Marlins with another prospect who's tearing up the minor league system as well. Andrew Pintar. I hope that I say that right. At first, I thought I said Andrew Painter, and I was like, wait, the Phillies and they just traded Andrew Painter, but it's Andrew Pintar who's got some speed and some thump as well. I'm not going to lie. AJ Puk has been incredible out the pen, and this is huge considering Paul Sewald has been a little bit shaky for the Snakes, but this is a big-time haul for the Marlins. I got to tip my cap to Peter Bendix. Now, AJ Puk did not play in this game versus the Orioles, but wait until the end because someone's bullpen completely imploded. The Orioles, they popped off for 3 home runs before the 4th inning came to a close. Tony Taters, Anthony Santander now has 28 long balls. Colton Cowser, this guy wants Rookie of the Year bad. This was a 3-run home run. He's got 14 home runs and a 120 OPS plus. Another rookie with a home run. Connor Norby went the other way. This guy hit 297 with 16 home runs and 13 stolen bases in 80 AAA games. Because of course he did. He's another Orioles prospect that has just been loaded up on whatever the Orioles are feeding these kids. But here's the thing about this game. Josh Bell is red hot. Colton, he scaled that wall like Spider-Man, but that ball was way out. Bell now has 4 home runs and 7 RBIs over his last 9 games, and he wasn't done in this game. After Miami stormed all the way back to make it 6-5, Xavier Edwards, he had an RBI single. Brian De La Cruz, an RBI double. Now I'm going to fast forward to Josh Bell's at-bat after Miami made it a 1-run game after a Gunnar Henderson error. Josh, he just tied it, so that's 8 RBIs over his last 9 games. He raised his negative 1.4 WAR to negative 0.8, so a great week for him. Craig Kimbrell, he's back to blowing games. Now, lucky for Kimbrell, Santander sliced a single in the 10th inning, and Mountcastle put them out in front, but it was only 1 run because Cedric, he ran into an out at home, and then Ryan Mountcastle ran into an out at second base, and now there's a wild pitch. Baltimore's momentum has completely swung to Miami. Baltimore fans are holding their breath, but they can finally exhale. Cionel Perez, he ends it, and the Orioles, they're officially back to 20 games over 500. Breaking news, the Orioles have made a trade as well. If you're a Yankees fan, you are happy to hear that both Randy Arozarena and Austin Hayes are now out of your division because they both have been pretty good against the Yankees in the Bronx at the very least. Austin Hayes, he's going to the Phillies in exchange for Sir Anthony Dominguez and Christian Pache. Pache is one of the biggest bust prospects I've ever seen, but his defense is still pretty good. Sir Anthony Dominguez, the ERA doesn't look great, but he's going to be a big-time bullpen piece for the Orioles going forward. So Sir Anthony Dominguez and Christian Pache of the Phillies going to the Orioles in exchange for Austin Hayes, who from 2021 to 23 averaged 50-plus extra base hits, but the thing you have to focus on with Austin Hayes, he destroys lefties, absolutely mashes lefties, so I think he's going to be a platoon bat. I could be wrong. Honestly, I feel like if they would have traded Austin Hayes last year, they could have gotten a bigger package, but they waited too long. He doesn't really play a whole bunch in Baltimore, at least this year, but for the Phillies, he's going to play a lot, or maybe he's just a platoon guy. I don't know, but what do you make of these trades? AJ Puk, you have Randy Arozarena, Austin Hayes, all on the move. Who's next? To start this Braves and Mets game, I need you guys to remember this first guy, Ramon Laureano. He stole second base, and he's actually scoring now. Orlando got sawed off on the painted fastball, but he makes it 1-0 on the RBI blooper. Not great with Chris Sale on the bump. Just kidding, it's all good. Francisco Lindor has 5 home runs over the last 4 days. He's shaping to have his best season since 2018. Do you guys remember 2018 Lindor when he had 42 doubles, 38 home runs, 25 stolen bases? He's on pace for back-to-back 30-30 seasons for the Mets, which actually would be a record for a primary shortstop. No shortstop in the history of baseball has 2 30-30 seasons, but I feel like Lindor, his record might be broken soon by Bobby Witt Jr. Travis d'Arnaud, no way. This is how Legend plays for me in MLB The Show. That's why I don't play on Legend. 2 runs on 2 broken bat or jam base hits. Sevy, he's out after that, and Jose Budo, he put Atlanta in a blender to keep it tied. Chris Sale, he was insane. After the 2-run home run, he struck out the side in the 7th inning, so he got stronger. Do you know how hard it is to go 7 innings, let alone strike out the side in the 7th? 14 of his last 15 starts, he's allowed 2 runs or fewer. He's been insane. And Whit Merrifield, he tried to get cute in his Atlanta debut. He's hosed at third base, and Edwin Diaz, he strikes out Duvall. So there goes the top of the 9th. The Mets, spoiler, they were held scoreless in the 9th, so we go to the 10th. Things got spicy. Maybe they knew the squeeze was on because Ramon, he got picked off trying for home. Kelnick, I don't know what happened there. He was a sitting duck. Ramon kind of channeled his inner Ray Lewis. Ramon was like, I did not mean to do that. I'm sorry. But maybe the baseball gods put some karma in this game because Ramon, he had a chance to catch it and he overran it. Jeff McNeil gets a walk-off and the Mets are officially 1 game back of Atlanta. Let me repeat that. The Mets are 1 game back of the Braves in the wild card. What? Moving on over to another team fighting for a wild card spot. No, not the White Sox, but we do have some White Sox news after the highlights. The Rangers, they basically have used the White Sox as a stim shot from Call of Duty. They're right back in the playoff hunt. While I was yapping, Mad Max just passed Justin Verlander. Mad Max is officially top 10 all-time in strikeouts. I'll show this one for White Sox fans. Corey Lee, he had an RBI on his birthday, but Marcus Semien, he tied it. He homered versus his former team. If you guys don't remember, he was a White Sox in 2013-14. He came on over to Oakland in the Jeff Samardzija trade, and that made me feel old. Texas, they steal the lead for good with a Leody Taveras ground ball, and Mad Max, he took care of the rest. Back-to-back strikeouts in the 6th inning. Robert and Pham go down chasing, and by the way, that second strikeout was his 3,400th career strikeout. He has 9 strikeouts over 6 innings, and the Rangers bullpen, they got some help from the defense. Leody with the laser, he nabs Eloy Jimenez at second base, and Robertson, he goes 2 innings, no hits for the save. The Rangers have won 5 games in a row, and they're 2.5 games back in the American League West. So I need you guys to take this next story with a grain of salt because these are alleged reports, but apparently Garrett Crochet said that if he gets traded, he will not step on the mound and throw a pitch without an extension, which I think that's kind of wild to say because he's not a free agent until 2027. He only has 184 innings as a big leaguer. I mean, I get he's been the Terminator this year and he does deserve big money, but maybe I'm an old man yelling at clouds, but it kind of reminds me of Josh Hader when Josh Hader would not come in to try and save the Padres because he wanted to get his money. I understand that baseball is a business and I understand the financials and taking care of your family, but it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. At least Josh Hader was like a multi-time All-Star and kind of deserved to take care of himself. What has Crochet done aside from this year? Again, maybe I'm an old man yelling at clouds, but one other story about a guy that throws very hard. Mason Miller, after his outing on Monday, he was reminded that he could not go home without getting a post-game lift, and I guess he just did not want to work out, and he was so mad, he punched a training table and broke his non-pitching pinky, and the A's manager, he went nuclear on Mason's agent because the agent for Mason Miller, he was trying to protect his trade value. He said it was an accident. No, Mark Kotsay, the A's manager, came out and said that we don't lie here. He threw them both under the bus. He told the truth, and I just want to ask you guys a question. Do you like the honesty from Mark Kotsay, or do you think that he just cost his team some pieces because maybe they can't trade Mason Miller now? What do you make of this? Now, I will say the A's offense is looking insane lately. Maybe they keep Mason Miller, and maybe the rebuild is ahead of schedule. I don't know. Like, even with this next guy, after the error, and in scores Butler, Rooker, he had his 24th home run. He has 70 RBIs and a 170 OPS plus. He's under team control until 2028. Like, I'm not joking when I say this. The A's, with this offense and Mason as their closer, they're 2 pretty good pitchers away from being serious contenders. Like, they're number 1 in all of Major League Baseball in team OPS over the last 30 days, especially with the arrival of Lawrence Butler. He goes lefty-lefty for a 2-run tank. He's batting .421 with 9 home runs and 26 RBIs. That's good for any month. It's even better for a month that everyone lost the week with the All-Star break. Daz Cameron, he just won the game. He was handed a 91 middle cookie, and he did not miss it. And the rookie, Tyler Fitzgerald, he's in for Mason Miller. He got his first career save, so they have a top 8 bullpen ERA, a really good offense. I like the A's, man. I almost wish that they would keep everyone and keep on building, but that's not what John Fisher does. Man, is it so good to see Clayton Kershaw back out there, and hopefully it's a good day at the office. That's his first strikeout of the year. He gets Patrick Bailey hacking, and after that, each team, they traded an RBI. Enrique, he drove in Lux, and Tyler Fitzgerald, it's not a home run, but it's a triple to left field because he's so fast, and Elliot Ramos, ooh, I think Kershaw's going to be okay, but Elliott does get the RBI on the comebacker. Again, thankfully, Kersh is all right. Vintage Kershaw stepped up. Down goes Bailey, and look at this rainbow beauty from Kershaw. 3 in a row to end the threat. I am happy as a baseball fan that Kershaw seems to be not fully healed, but he's looking pretty good. We had some deja vu in the 4th inning. Lux got on again, and he's scoring a second time off the bat of Enrique, who went the other way again. Austin Barnes somehow has a 12-game history. His second hit of the day makes it 3-2, and the Dodgers actually got a 4th run, but the Giants, they erased the deficit in the 8th inning. Conforto, he doubled in David Villar, and then Trinan, he tried to put out the fire and douse it, but Jorge Soler, he dunked in the game-tying RBI, so it's 4-4, and in steps Nick Ahmed. I know that the Giants dropped him, but I did not know that the LA Dodgers picked him up. That is some sweet, sweet revenge. He homers, and then Ohtani makes it back-to-back. He got on base 3 times in this game, 2 hits and a walk. He's got 31 home runs, and this is awesome. Brent Honeywell, who's had 4 or 5 surgeries on his elbow or shoulder, whatever it is, he got his first save as a Dodger. I hope that he gets a lot of leash. The Dodgers are back to 20 games over 500. Fun fact from Fuzzy, my team, the Guardians, are hitting .204, barely above the Mendoza line, with an embarrassing .552 team OPS over the last 15 days. Just gross. Just disgusting. The Tigers exploited them again. They used 6 bullpen arms to strike out 10 Guardians over 9 shutout innings. Javier Baez had a 3-run home run off of Gavin Williams. That was the only run-producing swing from either team, and check this out. 6 times in 11 games, the Tigers have held Cleveland to 2 runs or fewer. So here's the question. Is Cleveland overrated, or are the Tigers underrated? Either way, the Guardians are barely above 500 over the last 50 games. Sad times. Sad times indeed for your boy Fuzzy. So that does it for today's recap. A big boy recap, but it was so much fun. If you guys enjoyed, do me a favor, leave a like, hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to head on over to Stitched Up. It's a podcast with me and your friend Kyle. We're gonna have a banger one coming out later today. I'll see you guys there, and enjoy the web gems.
Working with the guys, explaining the game, what they need to do.
This one slicing away from Jazz, who dives and makes the...
Until... Oh no, not so fast, my friend.
Ground ball right side, ranging is Bogarts. A bobble, the throw to first is gonna get.
Tyler Fitzgerald lines one into center field, and Padres comes.
But he's not thinking about anything that he can't control.
Nice play, Rendon from his.
Face him a second time, that might help too. Jazz in the gap, dives